Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisFiction, and welcome to my pitch for the perfect Spider-Man trilogy. Now I want to preface that this is obviously my subjective perfect Spider-Man trilogy. I'm not trying to say this is the bog standard, the absolute golden perfect trilogy for Spider-Man. No, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What is your perfect trilogy for the character? But with that being said, this is my pitch. Let's get into it. In this first film, we will be taking inspiration from Spider-Man Blue and the 90s cartoon Sting of the Scorpion episode. This first film will have Peter learning to love again. A lot of stories, including ones I've written before, all end with the death of Gwen Stacy. However, I thought it would be interesting to start with the death of Gwen Stacy. Gwen's death is something that's severely overdone in Spider-Man media. However, if it has already happened, we can tell interesting stories building from it. During this film, Peter will be midway through college and will be a seasoned Spider-Man, already fighting most of his villains, including the Sinister Six, Green Goblin, and Venom. However, there will be another big twist. He will be Spider-Man no more, believing that Spider-Man brings more harm than good. He will also be closed off from the vast majority of people in his life, including Aunt May, afraid to lose them who he cares for. Peter's belief will also be backed up by the fact that the city hates Spider-Man, as campaigns against him are at an all-time high, run by J. Jonah Jameson. They hate him for the destruction caused during his monumental battles with all of his villains, encompassed by the fights that he had with the Green Goblin, which killed Gwen Stacy, which is seen as the final straw by the citizens of New York. There will also be one person, however, that reaches out to Peter, an original character that I've made called Joe Bagley. Bagley will stand out from the rest of the people in Peter's class, assessing the pain that he's going through after recognizing that he was Gwen Stacy's boyfriend. Bagley will reach out to Peter on many occasions. However, this will be rejected by Peter, giving his character position. Harry Osborn, another main character in this film, will have a hatred for Spider-Man after his father's death, believing him to be responsible. Peter will be the only person that Harry has left in his life. However, because of Peter's character arc, he is currently closing off from people around him, including Harry. This will drive Harry over the edge and down the path of abuse. The main villain of this film, if you hadn't guessed already, is the Scorpion. Due to J. Jonah Jameson's main role against Spider-Man during this film, Scorpion made the most sense as the villain. Plus, his character will be molded to parallel Peter, and here is how. Matt Gargan will have had his daughter killed during the destruction caused by Spider-Man's battle with the Green Goblin. During the aftermath of this, Mac's wife will have left him because their relationship reminded her too much of their late daughter, thus sending Mac into a spiral almost exactly the same as Peter Parker. In an experiment planned to get back at Spider-Man, funded by J. Jonah Jameson, Matt Gargan is transformed into the Scorpion to finally destroy Spider-Man, blaming him for ruining his life. Fueled only by his hate, Scorpion enacts horrific deeds to draw Spider-Man out of hiding as the city starts to wonder where he is gone. This leads to the death of innocent lives, one being Joe Bagley, the guy that Peter met during the start of the film, and the guy that tried to offer the handout to Peter, the man who tried to help him. This draws Peter back out of retirement to take down the Scorpion, and thus learns his lesson. To avoid the hurt of losing more people doesn't mean giving up being Spider-Man. It means embracing Gwen's death and accepting her loss and moving on, just as Joe Bagley was trying to suggest. The final confrontation between Spider-Man and the Scorpion will be purely encompassed by the emotions of both of these characters, and will end with the famous panel from If It Be My Destiny, symbolizing Peter's full belief in himself and his return back to Spider-Man. The film will end with Spider-Man being back, and Peter finally saying goodbye to Gwen Stacy on Valentine's Day amid the scene that mirrors Spider-Man Blue. Moving on to the next film in the trilogy, Peter will vow to visit Aunt May more often after the end of the last film and Peter learning his lesson. This then leads us to be introduced to Mary Jane Watson, including the famous panel from the issue that she was introduced in. Peter, however, will start pushing himself as Spider-Man once more, and this will make Peter appear mysterious in the eyes of MJ. The second part in this perfect trilogy will primarily focus around Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson, building a relationship, eventually becoming a couple by the end of the film. We will get to know Mary Jane throughout this film, and similar to Peter in the last, she is closed off in her own way. She has a dark past that she covers up with a confident persona, a little bit like the comics. A better way of describing it is that she will have a mask on at all times, kind of metaphorically paralleling Peter being Spider-Man. They grow closer and closer throughout the film, and slowly information about MJ's past will become clearer as Peter starts to put the pieces together. Peter will be the influence in MJ's life that helps her open up, which shows the lesson that he learned in the last film in full force. Another person that Peter needs to reincorporate back into his life is Harry Osborn. However, Peter will become too infatuated with getting back to being Spider-Man, leaving no room for Harry. Peter had already locked Harry out of his life in the last film, and it only becomes more prominent here. Peter doesn't realise how much Harry is hurting, and this external ignorance will be on full display. We can see as an audience the direction that this relationship is turning in, and as a case for us not wanting it to happen, but seeing the inevitability of it nonetheless. Peter eventually tries to reach out to Harry by the end of the film, but it is all too late. The main villain of this film will be a bit left field, but will also make a lot of sense. It will be Morris Bench, aka Hydro Man. Now, since this film will have a huge focus on Mary Jane Watson and her past, and her building a relationship with Peter, the villain will be someone from MJ's past, which will hold her down. Morris will of course become Hydro Man, and his motivation derives from jealousy as he looks to try and take out Peter, since he is her new boyfriend. Morris Bench won't only be an ex-boyfriend of MJ, but he will also come as the full package, a full representation of the events and the dark history that MJ wants to run from. Through a flurry of events, Hydro Man eventually comes to blows with Spider-Man as they fight throughout the film. Obviously, Spider-Man comes out on top, as it acts as a physical representation of MJ overcoming her past and Peter becoming her future. The film will end with MJ finding out Peter's secret identity and them officially becoming a couple. The third film in this trilogy, and the finale of the entire trilogy as a whole, will start out relatively normal for Peter. In fact, it will actually be the happiest he has ever felt in a long while. However, there is one thing on his mind: Harry Osborn. Harry is someone that he failed to be there for, and now it's too late. First, he pushed him away after the death of Gwen, and now he was too busy with Spider-Man to even consider his feelings. It will be typical Peter Parker. His responsibilities will have once again impacted his personal life. But what's even worse for Peter is that these actions will directly lead to the creation of this film's main villain. That's right, Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin. The Goblin will be back, and Harry will take up the mantle. After going fully off the rails and wanting to live up to what his father has started, he becomes the Green Goblin. And what's ironic about this is that it's all Peter's fault. The last thing that Peter would want is for the Green Goblin to come back, as the Goblin represents everything that he lost. But due to Peter's inability to help Harry through his own flaws, the Green Goblin is once again created. This film will also spend a lot of its runtime showing us how good MJ and Peter's relationship is, and showing us how much Peter has to lose. This will be accompanied with flashbacks to Peter's time with Gwen, showing us the parallels and the similarities between the two situations that are conjuring. In terms of Peter's arc in this film, he will be in a back and forth limbo with himself. He thought that he'd gotten over Gwen from the end of the last film, but the introduction of MJ in the last film starts to scare him. This will also be made clearer through the flashbacks with Gwen. We start to see that Peter has put up a barrier in his life for the type of love that Gwen gave him. And while he's accepted that he couldn't live his life locked away, the introduction of Mary Jane brings all these emotions crashing back into his life again. This will be accentuated through Harry Osborn's decline into villainy too. Peter starts to realise that the ramifications of his actions from the last film and the film before that has all come back to bite him, and has all come back with the second coming of the Green Goblin. Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin will be the physical representation of Peter's past coming back to haunt him. The film will end in a confrontation between the Goblin and Spider-Man after Harry finds out Peter's secret identity. MJ will also be involved in this conflict, and the parallels to Gwen's death become apparent. However, in a similar scenario that sees Harry's Goblin try to kill MJ, Peter will actually prevail and will save Mary Jane Watson, bringing the character full circle, rounding off his character arc. Peter being able to save MJ where he wasn't able to save Gwen shows the growth and the journey that his character has gone on. The film will end with MJ and Peter leaving college, and Peter finally proposing to Mary Jane, meaning he won. Peter Parker finally won, and we will end the film there as they go on to live happily ever after. Thank you for watching my pitch for a perfect Spider-Man trilogy. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also, make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel and hit the bell. Next to the subscribe button, we're pushing to 10,000 subscribers. Let's try and push for that goal. I know we can do it. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see my pitch for a Spider-Man cinematic universe. And on the right side of the screen, you can see my pitch for a Spectacular Spider-Man Season 3. With that said, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and keep writing stories.